Hey everyone, and welcome back to another track guide video. Now today we're going to be going around the Silverstone track, which is home to the British Grand Prix, and it's going to be happening this weekend, as we know. As you can see, we're in the multiplayer car instead of the My Team one for this particular episode, because I don't really want to interfere the My Team car with anything else. My Team is for my team, but anyway, as you can see, heading into Britain, it's a high-speed track, one of the longest and the quickest on the calendar, and as for time trial, my lap was good enough for the top 2,000. But anyway, that's enough of that, and I'm Auto Alfred, and you're watching the British Grand Prix track guide. So, heading into a lap at Silverstone, well, not quite starting it yet, but anyway, here we go. Round final proper corners, the Vale chicane. You take it in fourth gear to get good traction out of this corner and into quite a long flat out section down the Hamilton Straight. Now, first corner is Abbey. Now, you'd be in 8th gear, of course, but in the game, you'd basically use all of the entry space, because having a wider line, well, not exactly a wider line, but a bigger turning radius is better for carrying the speed through, but that would be not the case in real life, so you'd be up against a white line. So when I say you wouldn't do that in real life, that just basically means you would be up against a white line instead. Into turn 1, this is the apex for both real life and the game. You don't really want to touch those red curbs there, because that can throw you off in real life. Now, it may not look similar as what you see in TV for the apex of turn 1 in Britain, real life, but it's because the curb is thinner in real life. But anyway, heading into Village, you brake at roughly the start of the curb, downshift third. You'd want to use as much of the apex curb as possible, but of course you do not want to touch that red sausage curb up there, because that would ruin your entire sector 1, and that can cost you quite a lot, I reckon a few tenths. But anyway, now around the loop, you can stay in third or you can downshift to second, depending on your driving setup or style. And once again, you'd use as much of the apex as possible, but avoid that red curb. Anyway, you'd use the exit space there, the exit curb, because that gives you better traction actually. And anyway, into Brooklands, you'd use all of the entry curb into the corner, but in real life you wouldn't. So as I said before, that means you would be up against the white line as shown just now. Downshift to 4th gear, the apex is quite similar in real life and the game, because the curbs are thinner in real life. But anyway, downshift to 3rd, you'd V-shape this corner. Basically, you would hit the first apex as you turn in, and then you hit that one that we just went round just then. It's quite hard to explain, but you might see other people explaining it as well. It's once you see my hot lap, it will be quite clear. But anyway, this is now woodcut, barely a corner, but in fact, in the game you'd actually take quite a lot of the white line to take a shorter route, but in real life there is actually a curb there, so you wouldn't do that. Anyway, talking of curbs, you wouldn't do this in real life, you would be up against a white line, and also same for this apex of cops, you wouldn't use those curbs there. But what I will say is that the exit curb you will use no matter what, basically. That's all I needed to say. Heading into Maggots and Beckett's, this curb quite straightforward. And now this one, you don't really want to use the red bits, because that can destabilize the car in real life. You can get away with doing it in the game, however. So in real life you'd just be as close to it as possible, but not touching it, of course. Anyway, heading into the next part of Maggots and Beckett's, same thing here. Now on this final part is actually slightly different, because in fact this time is actually the same in both real life and the game, in the way that either way you don't want to touch those red curbs, not because it necessarily destabilizes the car, but it's just plain slower. So you just use as much as you dare. And now on the exit here, you can get away with using the grass, in fact, because first of all, they do it in real life, and secondly, it doesn't actually slow you down that much. So that's the thing. But in real life, they did extend the curb, so you don't have to touch the grass anymore when driving around Silverstone in real life. But anyway, heading into Stowe, you'd brake just sort of around that curb area and then downshift to 6th gear. You'd use this apex curb no matter what, and same with this exit curb here, and carry the speed through, and then upshift to 7th as you go into the bell chicane. You can use a little bit of the curb, but only a little bit of it. You can get away with it in the game. It's not necessarily the fastest, but it's not necessarily the slowest way around. In real life, it would just straight away lock up your front wheels, and that's not cool. You just go straight on, basically. And one thing you can do in the game as well is you can actually get away with using a bit of this red sausage curb at the beginning, at the first part of Vale, but you wouldn't do this in real life, so you'd just be up against it. And then you'd be in 3rd, upshift to 4th, don't touch that red sausage curb no matter what. And then you can actually use this sausage curb, which doesn't exist in real life, but it is actually quite handy because in the game, for us gamers, you get to have something to lean against, and that actually gives you better traction out of the corner. Of course, you need to be wary of track limits, and club, the final corner, basically, you can use this curve in the game, but not in real life, because it doesn't really give you any advantage whatsoever, and it doesn't really, somewhat in real life it does give you a disadvantage. But that is a lap at Silverstone. Now we are going to have a look at a hot lap. This is going to be using the real life techniques, not using like the entry curves or whatever that you would use in the game. So here's the lap. And that was a lap at Silverstone. Not, once again, as always, pretty much, not the maximum I could have got out of this particular lap, but I'm sure it's okay-ish nonetheless. And of course, as you saw, 3/10 down on my personal best because I'm not using the gaming techniques of using the curbs unnecessarily, in real life at least. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video or found it useful. If you did, please give this video a like. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more content like this and other racing game content otherwise, of course. And now we're watching a sort of TV view of this lap, broadcasting view I think it's called, the game officially calls it, but it's basically mostly exterior shots. But anyway, just realised as well that this is my 100th video that I've made on this channel, so perhaps not the most special one that you've ever seen, but hope you found it interesting nonetheless. And I'll see you guys soon for another video on F1 2020, and of course make sure to tune in for another track guide video which will be coming out in 2 weeks for the Hungarian Grand Prix, I believe it is. I don't know, you don't quote me on that, of course. But anyway, I'll see you guys next time for another video very soon.